Welcome to Professional Seduction, the place to find, flirt, and fall in love with your career. I'm Chanel Caraway. Business leaders and industry experts will share tips and advice to help push your professional life forward. And if you're trying to make sense of your career, well, we'll help you with that too. Joining us is Brian Osuch. Brian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You are an entrepreneur and the CEO of Osuch Luck Productions. Tell us how you got to this point.
Okay, I like to tell people that I have been in the broadcast industry for maybe over 20 years now, and I say I've been on both sides of the camera and the microphone. So I've been an on-air talent, I have been a news anchor, a personality, but I've also been a producer. So I've also been able to produce great content. And I have to say it was the years in newsrooms, in writing advertising copy that I really refined my storytelling skills. And for the bulk of my career now, for the past 15 years, I've been partnering with brands, agencies, and PR professionals and helping them tell their stories through new media and traditional media outlets.
So what advice can you offer to viewers and just people watching this who feel stuck in their careers, who feel like they're just marking time and don't know which way to go?
We're not the only ones who are stuck. As you said, you were, I was, and 84% of Americans right now feel stuck or trapped in their careers. And that's a really scary feeling because you feel like you're out of control, you feel like you don't have any options, and oftentimes that shows up in your work. And that could be low productivity, poor performance, and things along that way. And I also say to people, make sure you isolate it, because I've often felt this stuck spiral. It follows you around life. So I say don't let it follow you outside of work into your private life or vice versa. So first isolate it and keep it in one area so it doesn't grow and expand in your life. And I do have 3 things that I've learned to do, and I've been focusing on this probably for the past 3 years, is learning, refinement, and a little sprinkle of humility.
Wait, hold on. Learning,
yes,
refinement,
yes,
and a sprinkle of humility.
Absolutely, that is a winning combination.
Talk to me about how to develop and maintain positive workplace relationships, because I admit I'm not the best at it.
Well, I have to say, coworkers are such an important part of your everyday life. I mean, we spend so much time at work. The average American spends about 47 hours a week at work. So that means they are seeing their colleagues and their coworkers more than their family. I mean, that's not new. We all know this. However, what is exciting by that, though, is you get some really great relationships out of these. You get work wives, you get work husbands, you get work besties.
Yes.
Sorry, I slapped you. You get a work bestie out of the deal. And these are people who could really highlight your life. However, you also need to make sure when you build that relationship, you want to build it so it's based on trust and respect. So I often think before I start building a relationship with someone, let's say for you as an example, you need to view that person as a 360 whole individual, meaning this person is going to be a friend. This person is also going to be competition. This person is going to push me to be a better version of myself. This person is going to be a teacher, someone who's going to help me learn new things. And this person could also be a very great business partner to help promote me, to help refer me to other things. So once you see that you really get the idea that this person can really, really help me. And what I love doing, and I think we've talked about this in previous conversations, is I love doing this thing called a check-in. And it sets expectation. I'm a big fan of setting expectations. So when I work with somebody or begin working with anyone, I often let them know what my expectation is of them working with me on a project, and I also want them to let me know what their expectation is of me. And the great thing about that is then there's no surprises. And the other thing is, when you ask somebody these questions, it lets them know that I see you, I recognize you, you matter, and I care what you say. And then that builds this very interesting bond between you two where you could have trust and you can move forward. And one more is so important, is the idea of also checking in with yourself. How am I showing up to the table?
Self-awareness.
Am I creating an environment that is welcoming to people and new ideas? Or am I creating an environment that is insecure and going to make people get scared and not want to participate and maybe potentially disrupt the project or the team?
Talk about finding the courage, the strength even to walk away from something, be it a job, be it a professional relationship with a coworker who you feel like, okay, this person is kind of stunting my growth at work, it's time to put some distance between us. How do you say no to something or someone without it being destructive, being viewed as something really negative. How do you turn that seemingly negative thing into something positive in the workplace?
Well, I recently saw a video online and it really moved me, and it actually resonated with something that I experienced not too long ago. And we have to eliminate the energy suckers from our life.
Energy suckers.
You know
that
what
needs to be a bumper sticker. Get lost, you energy suckers. Okay.
Sayonara sucker.
I digress. Okay.
For sure, because when you think about it, they enter the room and they just drain you, and you feel it and you know it. And so I often think whenever I'm in a situation where I could decide whether or not I want to work with somebody or not, if I want to continue a working relationship, I gauge certain things. I look at our communication styles. Are they matching? Because I love face-to-face. I love being very close to my colleagues. I love to really get to know them. Other people are a little bit more sheltered. Some people may prefer distance. They may just prefer email communication and not get too close. So for what I do, if it's not working for me, there's absolutely nothing wrong to just flat out be honest and say, this current working situation is not working for me. However, I do still want this job, so how could we work together to make this better? Because if I'm happy, you're going to get a lot more out of me. I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to be more engaging, and this is going to benefit you, and vice versa. But there's other situations where that's just not possible, and there is absolutely nothing wrong for saying, this is not working between us, and it's a breakup.
Networking.
Yes.
I am not good at it. I can smile and schmooze with the best of them.
Yeah.
I'll take business cards. I'll turn on and turn up the charm. But when it's all said and done, I don't remember any names.
How many
Sometimes I don't
business cards
remember.
do you have when you go home? You still have the whole stack though, right?
A lady never tells. A lady never kisses and tells.
Right.
So how can you get better at networking and figure out how to network effectively? Figure out how to seek out the right people or just make the right connections that last once the event is done?
Sure. I mean, you nailed it on the head. Networking is awkward. I mean, I don't know anyone who likes it. It's not something that you naturally are born to do. Like, oh, I'm going to go talk to 5-10 people that I've never met before.
Yeah.
It's awkward.
Yeah.
Have your go-tos. I do it quite a bit now, and I find people love authenticity, and we usually could find something in common, whether that's this is not new, whether it's talking about like news events that are happening in the local community, a common author, sports, music, whatever. That's an easy way in. But again, remember, you are at a networking event and you're there for business. So it's absolutely okay to flat out say, like, this is why I'm here. I have this intent. This is the kind of person I'm looking to meet. And they should do the very same thing with you. It is a dance. It's all about reciprocation towards one another. They're there to benefit from you, and you're there to benefit from them. So you need to remember that too. So just throw it out there and say what you're looking to accomplish at that event.
Those of us who are on the fence about branching out on our own, it's like we keep having these ideas percolating and people are constantly telling us you need to go do this or this is who you're meant to be, but we just haven't found the gumption to go do it. What advice would you offer? What message would you send to that person who just wants to break free and go pursue their passion, but just isn't sure where to begin? Because in a lot of ways, I was and still am that person. It's like I'm taking baby steps here, figuring it out as I go.
So, I mean, first off, you have to figure out what it is that you want to do and what you accomplish. You have to do a really deep dive into who you are and get to know yourself and figure out what is it that I could offer people that they want, something that's going to be relevant and actually serve you and the client at the same time. So, for instance, for me, I, again, love working in the media, whether it be television and radio, but I've worked in radio for years. And right now, podcasting has become so popular, and I produce a lot of podcasting right now. And it's something that is relevant. It's a fad that people are very excited about, but it's growing. 57 million people listen to podcasts every single month, and that number continues to grow. So you figure out what you can offer somebody, and then you present it to them. But again, the big thing for me, though, is you have to believe in yourself. I ventured out on my own about 2.5 years ago. And I have to say, believe in yourself, your skill set, and it will guide you to the finish line. I said this before, it will guide you to the finish line and you will win. You have to believe in yourself. And the other thing about that is make sure you set up realistic goals. Don't go into a blind. I kind of went into a blind. That was a mistake. I learned, and that's why I'm able to tell people.
But it's important to share that.
Right. And the thing is, make sure you have your goals and where you want to be. So set up a 6-month goal, set up a 1.5-year goal, set up a 2-year goal, and make sure you get to those benchmarks. And if you haven't, what can I do to make sure I get to that benchmark? Sometimes you're going to miss one, and that's okay.
Now, one thing I do want to ask you before we go, tell me about what's in the pipeline for Osuch Love Productions. I gotta know.
Okay, Osuch Love Productions hopefully will continue to grow because, your benchmarks. So I have an idea of what my benchmarks are. So I want to do more television. I want to produce more podcasts. You actually listened to a segment of one of the podcasts in the back of a cab one day. Remember that this past summer?
I remember.
Yeah, so I've been doing that, but more something else where I'm diving into an area where it makes me uncomfortable, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. I am finishing my first novel. It's a YA fantasy novel.
And I get an advance copy, right?
Yes, maybe the first draft.
I'm going to hold you to it.
But I have to say, I'm going to take my own advice because I am putting myself, I actually did just the other night. I went to a networking event for authors and I made sure I searched out people that I could potentially learn something from. I stayed quiet, I asked questions and I listened. And I met an author who is on her second YA novel, so she told me about the process. And so I'm entering a world that makes me very nervous, makes me very uncomfortable.
Good.
But all the same, that's how you're going to grow and not get stuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have an exercise that you've done and you continue to share with
Yes.
people. Talk to me about this exercise.
This exercise I started doing with myself maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And it just gives you a visual and it helps you get an understanding of where you are and where you want to go. So something that I often do is I take a piece of paper and you could put a line right down the middle or you could fold it in half. And so it's negotiables and the non-negotiables. So let's say the left-hand side, you write down everything that are negotiables. They're like, I like it. It's what I currently have. You write down the things that you have with your current job. And then you write down the non-negotiables on the other side, the things you don't have but you must have. And then you realize, okay, so these on the left-hand side that are negotiables, I could or could go do without them, you could probably get them anywhere. So why are you staying in this particular job? Then you look at the non-negotiables and say, I want those. Is my current job going to make that happen for me? Is it ever going to happen? Are they going to make me work extra long for this? Is it in my reach? If the answer is no, you could get everything on the left-hand side, but you want the right-hand side, go look for another job and find something that's better suited for you so you don't spend years fighting for something that may never happen when you go find a new job and get everything off that piece of paper that you want. It's a great visual too. And it helps you realize if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And one other saying that I say all the time, and you know this one about me, and I think you like it a lot, is sometimes you have to sacrifice the like to get the love. Do you want to like your job or do you want to love your job? Yeah.
Brian, thank you for sharing your pearls of wisdom with us. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate you coming on to Professional Seduction. Thank you guys for joining us for this series of Professional Seduction. Next week, we talk all about becoming your own boss. Before we go, I got to shout out my people at Born in Brooklyn Media for making all of this possible. Without your help for Professional Seduction, we wouldn't be where we are right now. We'll see you next time.